Imagine coming home to celebrate the biggest victory of your career, only to follow a trail of clothes up the stairs and hear your husband in bed with your own sister. That's exactly what happened to Rebecca Stone, but instead of exploding in anger, she did something no one expected. She stayed calm. She started collecting evidence, and then she turned her living room into a courtroom and their lives into rubble. What began as betrayal inside one family became a scandal that destroyed careers, friendships, and reputations across the city. So what happened when Rebecca decided the ending would belong to her, not them? I still remember the exact moment my world shifted forever. It was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. That morning, I had signed the Morrison deal, an acquisition so complex it made me the youngest senior partner in Blackstone and Associates history. My colleagues were still buzzing with congratulations, champagne bottles clinking in the background as I slipped away from the office. I couldn't wait to celebrate with David, my husband of 8 years. I had everything planned: champagne chilling in my briefcase, a surprise anniversary trip to Tuscany just booked that morning, the villa confirmation glowing on my phone. It was meant to be the perfect gift, the rekindling of a marriage that had been strained, but I believed never broken. But when I stepped into my home that afternoon, what I found was not celebration. It was devastation. At first, it was just a pair of men's Italian leather shoes, size 12, abandoned at the front door. Then his navy blazer draped across the stair railing like a flag of surrender. A white shirt twisted on the third step. Piece by piece, I followed the trail of clothing, each item a breadcrumb leading me deeper into betrayal. By the time I reached the landing, I heard it. The unmistakable sound of my husband's voice, low and guttural, paired with the breathless moans of a woman I knew better than anyone, Emma, my younger sister. Her voice carried through the thin walls of our old Victorian home, calling out David's name in a way I hadn't heard in years. My chest tightened. My hand hovered over the doorknob, every muscle in my body screaming to throw it open, to end it then and there. But I didn't. Instead, I froze. My briefcase slid off my shoulder and landed with a muffled thud against the carpet. I stood in silence, every heartbeat hammering like a war drum in my ears. And then, with a clarity I can't explain, I backed away. Slowly, quietly, because in that moment, one thought consumed me. The real ending to this story belongs to me. I moved down the hall, past family photographs that now looked like evidence of an elaborate lie. David and me at our law school graduation, Emma as my maid of honor in a pink silk dress, the three of us smiling at last Christmas, arms wrapped tightly around each other, happy, perfect, untouchable. Or so it seemed. Now those smiles mocked me. I slipped into the guest bathroom, locked the door, and sat on the vanity with my phone trembling in my hands. The sounds from upstairs, my husband and my sister, carried clearly through the walls. I opened my voice recorder, and for 2 minutes and 37 seconds, I captured the soundtrack of my betrayal. That recording was the first stone in the avalanche that would follow. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. I stared at myself in the mirror. Rebecca Stone, 34 years old, successful attorney, polished charcoal suit still perfectly pressed, lipstick unsmudged, not a hair out of place. I looked every bit the woman who had just won the biggest case of her career. But behind my eyes, something colder was forming. Not grief, not despair, strategy. While David and Emma were upstairs writing the end of our relationships, I was downstairs writing the beginning of their consequences. And I would make sure the ending was one they never saw coming. I shut the bathroom door and pressed the lock with a click that felt louder than thunder in my ears. For a moment, I just stood there, palms flat against the cool marble counter,
trying to breathe. My whole body trembled, not from fear, but from the kind of rage that seeps into your bones and makes your skin feel too tight. Through the thin walls of our Victorian house, their sounds carried down to me. Emma's laugh, soft, breathless, intoxicated. David's low groan, a sound I once thought belonged only to me. The rhythmic creak of the bed we had chosen together on our 3rd anniversary. Every note of their betrayal stabbed into me with surgical precision. My hands shook as I pulled my phone from my blazer pocket. For a split second, I considered calling my parents, my best friend, anyone who could tell me what to do. But I didn't want comfort. I wanted evidence, proof, something undeniable. I opened the voice recorder. The red light blinked to life. I set the phone carefully on the vanity top, angled toward the ceiling, and sat there frozen, listening. 2 minutes and 37 seconds. That's how long I recorded. Not 1 second more, not 1 second less. I didn't need to hear all of it. I only needed enough. Enough to capture the truth that would destroy them both. When I picked up the phone again, my reflection stared back at me in the mirror. My makeup was flawless, my suit still crisp. To the outside world, I was still Rebecca Stone, the shark in the courtroom, the rising star who had just closed Chicago's most complex merger. But my eyes were no longer the same. They were colder, more dangerous. I slipped out of the bathroom as silently as I had entered, moving like a ghost through my own home. Each step carried me past photographs that now looked like crime scene evidence. David and me on our wedding day, holding hands under an arch of roses. Emma with her arm linked through mine at Thanksgiving. Both of us laughing, heads tilted back in the exact same way. Now those photos were proof of something else. How easily a smile can hide a knife. In my study, I set down my briefcase and powered on my laptop. My fingers moved automatically, years of legal training guiding me through what needed to be done. If David thought he could outwit me, he had underestimated the wrong woman. First, his credit card statements. My heart pounded as I logged into the accounts I rarely bothered to check. The pattern was immediate, undeniable. Palmer Hotel, every Tuesday at 4:17 p.m., champagne charges, chocolate-covered strawberries, late checkout fees, each entry aligned perfectly with his supposed client presentations. Next, Emma, my sister, my blood. I typed her name into the county property database. Within seconds, her secret life came spilling out. An apartment rented 3 blocks from David's office, signed under her maiden name, Emma Charlotte Mills. I sat back in my chair, staring at the screen, letting the betrayal sink in deeper. They hadn't just stolen moments. They had built an entire second life together, 3 miles away from the home I paid for, from the marriage I carried on my back, from the family traditions we once held sacred. And the cruelest detail? Just last month, Emma had asked me over coffee for relationship advice. She said there was someone new, someone she was falling for, but she didn't want to rush into things. I had smiled at her at the cafe table, offered her wisdom, assured her she deserved happiness. I had been counseling her on how to love my husband. I swallowed the bile rising in my throat and forced myself back to focus. Emotion wouldn't win this battle. Strategy would. One folder at a time, I began to build my case. Screenshots of credit card charges, saved images of Emma's Instagram check-ins, each conveniently near David's office. A cross-reference chart matching his late nights with her yoga classes. And finally, the recording. I uploaded it to the cloud, creating 3 separate backups on secure drives. If either of them tried to deny it, the truth would be ready to play at a moment's notice. By the time I closed my laptop, the sound of the shower was drifting downstairs. They were cleaning up, erasing the evidence, preparing to step back into my life with casual smiles and practice lies. But they didn't know. They didn't know that while they were upstairs weaving their fantasy, I was downstairs building their reality. The reality where betrayal has consequences. The reality where love doesn't protect you, evidence does. And the reality where Rebecca Stone wasn't the victim. She was the prosecutor. I stared at the screen, the glow of my laptop painting the study in a cold, sterile light. The evidence was there. Receipts, apartment leases, Instagram check-ins, but it wasn't enough for me to just know. I needed to understand the pattern, the timeline, the architecture of their betrayal. Because affairs don't happen by accident. They're built, brick by brick, lie by lie. I pulled a legal pad from my desk drawer, the same kind I used to outline depositions, and began writing dates. March, April, May. Each month stretched across the page like a silent witness waiting to testify. March 15th, the Palmer Hotel, a $247 charge. That night, I had worked until midnight preparing contracts for the Morrison deal. I remembered bringing David Tate out around 10 p.m., kissing him on the cheek, apologizing for being late. He'd smiled, told me he'd just gotten home himself, long day with Henderson Industries. But the receipt told another story. While I bent over case files, David had been 3 miles away in silk sheets with my sister. April 22nd, another Palmer charge. That night, Emma had told me she was too exhausted for our weekly coffee date, claiming she'd been up late editing new content for her sponsors. I'd texted her, "Don't work yourself to death. You deserve rest." She'd sent back a heart emoji. Meanwhile, she was tangled in hotel sheets, laughing at private jokes with my husband. May 7th, a charge from the Marriott downtown. A Saturday morning. David had left the house in golf attire, clubs strung over his shoulder, saying Marcus wanted an early tea time before client meetings. I'd kissed him goodbye at the door, wished him good luck, and spent the morning cleaning our kitchen, humming to myself. At 11:42 a.m., he ordered room service, 2 omelets, champagne, strawberries. Emma had posted a selfie later that day in yoga pants, captioned, "Self-Care Saturday." Every detail clicked together like gears in a machine I hadn't realized was running right under my nose. I felt sick. I flipped the page and kept going. June, July, August. More Tuesdays, more Thursdays, even a weekend trip to Madison. David had said it was a networking retreat, while Emma had sworn she was off at a yoga workshop. Both lies, both rehearsed, both feeding off the trust I had so freely given them. And then there was the pergola. Just last month, David had spent a full Saturday hammering and drilling in Emma's backyard. He told me he wanted to help her decorate her new place, make it feel like home. I had brought them lemonade, even snapped a picture of the two of them smiling under the summer sun. That photo still sat in my phone, a digital monument to my own blindness. Now I saw it for what it was. Not kindness, not generosity. Practice. Practice for building a life together without me. My pen pressed so hard into the paper I nearly tore through the page. The rage simmered, but beneath it was something else. Clarity. Cold, surgical clarity. They had been planning this for half a year, meeting in hotels, texting under the table during family dinners, weaving a private narrative where I was nothing but a prop. Emma's new lingerie shopping trips, the sudden glow on her face, the sly way David checked his phone during dinner, all of it was part of the same equation. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the messy scrawl of dates and notes. I'd built entire cases for billion-dollar corporations on less evidence than this. They thought they were clever. They thought they could fool me forever. But patterns are my specialty. I'd built my career finding inconsistencies, pulling apart lies,
weaving together fragments until the truth screamed louder than denial. And now I was applying those same skills, not in a courtroom, but in my own home. The floorboards creaked above me, the sound of footsteps moving across the bedroom. I imagined them smiling, satisfied, believing their secret was still intact. But what they didn't know was that their affair wasn't a love story. It was a case file, and I had just opened it.
The more I stared at the pages of notes and digital files, the calmer I became. The initial shock was gone, replaced by something colder, sharper, like a scalpel in the hands of a surgeon. Rage was loud and messy. Revenge required silence. I had everything I needed to know, but knowledge alone wasn't enough. I wanted evidence. Irrefutable, airtight, the kind no lawyer, no spin doctor, no desperate plea could ever dismantle. If David thought he was clever enough to hide this, if Emma thought she could charm her way out of it, then they had both forgotten exactly who I was. I was Rebecca Stone, corporate litigator, and building airtight cases was what I did for a living. I opened my laptop again and began assembling folders. Screenshots of credit card transactions lined up neatly with screenshots of Emma's Instagram posts, photos of the clothing trail that I'd taken moments earlier, each stamped with time and date. I uploaded the 2-minute recording of their betrayal to 3 separate encrypted drives, 1 cloud-based, 2 offline. Then I moved to David's laptop. He hadn't changed his password in years. Ironically, it was Emma's birthday. I typed it in, and within seconds, his entire double life spilled onto the screen. Emails, calendar entries, even synced text messages. It was all there. Hotel reservations disguised as Henderson Client Strategy Sessions. Messages from Emma saved under a fake name, but laced with thinly veiled affection. Can't wait for Tuesday. Same sweet as last week. Bring the champagne. I documented everything. My fingers moved quickly, methodically, as though I were prepping for a trial. Screenshots, file names, timestamps, each piece cataloged, each lie immortalized in black and white. It wasn't just evidence of adultery anymore. It was proof of financial fraud. David had been billing his company for hours he spent in hotel rooms. Emma, meanwhile, was jeopardizing every sponsorship contract she'd signed. And that was the detail that made me smile. Emma's lifestyle brand was built on a pristine, family-friendly image. She was the relatable sister, the woman who preached wellness and wholesome values to hundreds of thousands of followers. Her contracts were littered with morality clauses, the kind that brands inserted to protect themselves from scandals. And here she was, sneaking into hotel rooms with her brother-in-law. When the time was right, her empire would crumble with one phone call. The sound of water stopped upstairs, the shower. They were cleaning themselves, erasing the sweat and perfume, preparing to step back into their roles as husband and sister, smiling across the dinner table like nothing had changed. I closed the laptop and leaned back, letting the quiet settle around me. Every instinct screamed at me to storm upstairs, to drag them both out into the open, to make them confess. But no, that would be too easy, too quick. I didn't want catharsis, I wanted consequence. And consequences take planning. I walked to the wine cabinet and pulled out a bottle of Malbec I had been saving for a special occasion. This qualified. I uncorked it slowly, the pop echoing through the house, then poured myself a glass. The deep red swirled in the glass like blood under lamplight. Upstairs, the floor creaked again, Emma moving around, probably fixing her hair, spraying perfume, preparing to sneak out the back door. David would follow soon, casual as ever, maybe even humming as he poured himself coffee. They had no idea that downstairs, I had already built the case that would end them. The evidence was complete. The plan was forming. All that was left was timing.
Because while they were upstairs savoring the last moments of their illusion, I was setting the trap. And when it snapped shut, it wouldn't just ruin their affair, it would dismantle their entire lives.
The house smelled faintly of lavender air freshener when I carried the glasses of wine into the living room. 3 glasses, arranged carefully into a triangle on the coffee table. A silent stage, set for the performance they didn't realize they were about to give. I sank into my favorite armchair, the one with the perfect sightline to both the staircase and the front door. My hands were steady now, calmer than they had any right to be. The rage was gone. What replaced it was colder, sharper, like a prosecutor sharpening her closing argument before walking into court. "Becca?" David's voice floated from the kitchen, casual, almost cheerful. "Didn't expect you home so early." I smiled, though he couldn't see it. "Morrison deal closed ahead of schedule. Thought I'd come home and celebrate with my loving family." The word family tasted like poison on my tongue. A pause, then footsteps, the clink of his coffee mug against the counter. "That's great, babe. We could open that bottle of Dom we've been saving, maybe order from Chalaron." "Actually," I interrupted, my voice cool and deliberate, "I think we should wait for Emma. She'll want to hear about the Morrison deal too." Silence. The kind of silence that makes the air itself feel heavy. When David appeared in the doorway, his shirt was buttoned, his hair still damp from the shower. He froze when he saw the 3 glasses of wine, his brow furrowed, confusion flickering across his face. "Why would Emma care about your work?" he asked, his voice tight. "Oh, I think Emma cares about a lot of things that happen in this house." Upstairs, the floor creaked, the sound of careful footsteps on the wooden stairs, Emma trying to sneak out unnoticed. I turned my head, voice honey-sweet. "Emma, darling, could you join us in the living room? I have wonderful news to share." Her footsteps stopped dead. For a moment, silence swallowed the entire house. Then, slowly, deliberately, her heels clicked against the staircase. Each step groaned under her weight, betraying her no matter how carefully she moved. When she appeared in the doorway, she looked like a ghost. My husband's white button-down hung loose on her frame, clearly not hers. Her cheeks flushed, her lipstick gone. Her hair was finger-combed but still tangled in ways that spoke volumes. "Rebecca," she whispered, my name spilling from her lips like a confession. "Hello, sister." My voice was calm, even warm. "Please, sit, both of you. We have so much to discuss." Emma's eyes darted from me to David to the front door, calculating escape routes that didn't exist. David stayed standing, his hands clenched into fists at his sides, boardroom confidence slipping like sand through his fingers. I reached for my phone, tapped the screen. The recording from earlier filled the room. Emma's voice, gasping, desperate, moaning my husband's name. I let it play for 10 seconds before I pressed stop. The silence afterward was deafening. "Because it sounds," I said softly, "exactly like what it looks like." Emma collapsed on the sofa, her legs unable to hold her. Tears spilled down her face, streaking her mascara into dark rivers. David stayed on his feet, jaw tightening, as if sheer denial could save him. "How long have you been recording us?" he demanded. "Long enough." I lifted my laptop, turned the screen toward them. Neatly organized folders glowed back at them. Hotel receipts, screenshots, calendar entries, and even the property record of Emma's secret apartment. Palmer Hotel every Tuesday, the Marriott on Thursdays, Madison on weekends, and of course the little love nest Emma rented under her maiden name. Should I keep going? Emma made a sound like air escaping a balloon. "Rebecca, I never meant—" "You didn't plan it?" I laughed, the sound sharp, humorless. "You rented an apartment in February. David started booking hotel rooms in March. You've been planning this for half a year while asking me for relationship advice about your mysterious new man." David stepped forward, desperate, voice cracking. "Becca, our marriage has been struggling. You're always working. We barely talk. Emma was just someone I could connect with." Connect with? Is that what you call compromising your professional ethics by sleeping with a client's brand ambassador? His face drained of color. "And you, Emma, how do you plan to explain this to Serenity Wellness, or FitLife, or the skincare line that pays you to represent family values? I have photos of you two kissing outside your apartment. Very family-friendly." Emma sobbed openly now, her body shaking. David's hands trembled, his usual charm collapsing into ashes. I closed the laptop with a sharp snap, the sound final, like a gavel striking wood. This isn't a discovery, it's a trial, and I'm the prosecutor. When the confrontation ended, I didn't need to scream or throw anything. I simply stood, smoothed my skirt, and walked back into my study. The evidence was already waiting, neatly organized into folders on my laptop. Now it was time to use it. The first call went to Marcus Richardson, David's longtime business partner, and the only reason their firm had survived its early years. Marcus answered on the second ring, his voice heavy with stress. "Rebecca, is David with you? He missed the Henderson presentation this afternoon." "That's exactly why I'm calling," I said, slipping into the professional tone I used with clients. "David hasn't been handling Henderson. In fact, he hasn't been handling much of anything for the past 6 months." I sent the email as I spoke, receipts, screenshots, hotel bookings, all attached in a neatly labeled folder. Silence stretched on the other end as Marcus opened the files. "Jesus Christ," he whispered finally. "How long has this been going on?" "Long enough for your firm to face liability if you don't act immediately. Fraudulent billing, conflict of interest, breach of ethics clauses, you'll find it all in there." By the end of that night, Marcus had convened an emergency partners meeting. David was terminated effective immediately. His access to accounts revoked. His equity stake, 7 years of sweat and endless late nights, reduced to a humiliating buyout of less than $50,000, thanks to the ethics forfeiture clause he had signed himself. David wasn't just unemployed, he was unemployable. But I wasn't finished. Next came Emma. Her entire career was built on polished Instagram reels and sponsored campaigns. Every dollar she made depended on maintaining a squeaky clean image, which meant one email to the right people could unravel it all. I opened my contacts list and selected Jennifer Walsh, marketing director at Serenity Wellness, Emma's biggest sponsor. We'd worked together during corporate acquisitions before. She trusted me. "Rebecca, what a surprise," Jennifer said warmly. "Are you calling about Emma's renewal? Her engagement numbers look great." "I'm calling about Emma's morality clause. You'll want to schedule an emergency meeting." Another email, another folder of evidence. Photographs of Emma entering hotels with David, text messages thinly disguised as business talk, the voice recording. Silence on Jennifer's end, followed by a sharp inhale. "Oh my God, Rebecca, this is devastating. Serenity cannot be associated with this kind of scandal." By the next morning, Emma's contract was suspended. Within hours, other sponsors followed. FitLife Athletics pulled her fitness videos. A sustainable fashion brand canceled her collection launch. Even a local coffee chain ended her partnership. The dominoes fell fast. On social media, hashtags exploded. Hashtag Sister Stealer, hashtag Bedroom Betrayal, hashtag Emma Exposed. Followers who once adored her authentic family values now flooded her posts with comments dripping in sarcasm. Screenshots of hotel receipts and PI photos circulated like wildfire. Her follower count dropped in real time, thousands gone by the hour. While the internet dismantled Emma's brand, trade publications turned their attention to David. Marketing Weekly ran the headline the next day.
Richardson Firm Terminates Partner Over Client Fraud and Ethics Violations. The article detailed his misuse of client hours, his fabricated meetings, and his professional misconduct. His name became toxic overnight, whispered in industry circles as a cautionary tale. That evening, as I sat with colleagues at Lou Bernardin, celebrating the Morrison deal, my phone buzzed with updates. Marcus confirmed David's termination, Jennifer confirmed Serenity Wellness had dropped Emma, other sponsors were lining up behind them. I raised my glass of wine, smiling. Upstairs in my house, just 24 hours earlier, David and Emma had been tangled in sheets, laughing, believing their secret was safe. Now their professional worlds were collapsing in real time. Careers they had spent years building reduced to rubble in a single day. And the best part? I didn't have to lie, exaggerate, or invent anything. All I had done was shine a light on the truth they tried so hard to hide. Because affairs may be private, but consequences are always public.
News travels faster than fire when it's family. By dawn, the storm had reached my parents. I made the call myself because the last thing I wanted was for them to hear whispers from anyone else. My mother answered on the first ring, her voice bright, oblivious. "Rebecca, honey, you're up early. How did the Morrison celebration go?" I closed my eyes, gripping the phone tightly. "Mom, I need you and Dad to sit down. Put me on speaker." Seconds later, I heard the scrape of kitchen chairs, the hush of anticipation. Then I spoke the words that ripped our family in half. "Emma has been having an affair with David. I caught them yesterday, in our bedroom." Silence. My mother gasped, a sharp, broken sound. My father's voice came low, steady, the way it did when he was holding back anger. "Are you certain?" "I have recordings, photos, 6 months of hotel receipts. She even rented an apartment 3 blocks from his office." My mother began to sob, repeating Emma's name like a prayer. My father didn't cry. Instead, his voice turned to steel. "She is no longer welcome in this family. As far as I'm concerned, we have one daughter now." It should have felt like vindication. Instead, it hollowed me out, because even in betrayal, Emma was still my sister. Cutting her away meant cutting away years of holidays, traditions, childhood memories. And yet, it had to be done. The fractures didn't stop there. Friends we'd shared as couples began to choose sides. Sarah and Michael Patterson, who'd spent countless Christmases with us, called with their carefully neutral tone. "We want you to know, Rebecca, we're here for both of you during this difficult time." Both of you. I almost laughed. "There are no both sides to this, Sarah. David was sleeping with my sister in my own house." The silence that followed told me everything. Their loyalty lay with social harmony, not with truth. Others were different. My law school friend Jennifer Walsh called within hours, furious. "What do you need? A lawyer? A safe house? Do you want me to kill him? I know people." Her loyalty reminded me that betrayal strips away the weak ties, but strengthens the ones that truly matter. Still, the social fallout was brutal. Holiday invitations stopped coming, family gatherings became battlegrounds of silence. My parents refused to take Emma's calls. My father erased her number. My mother, torn between anger and maternal instinct, cried herself sick. And then there were Emma's kids. My niece Madison texted me late one night, "Aunt Rebecca, why are mom's sponsors canceling her deals? Kids at school are saying things about her online. What's happening?" How could I explain to a 16-year-old that her mother's choices had torched not only her own future, but theirs too? The damage wasn't just personal. It was generational. A family tree with one branch hacked off at the trunk, leaving scars that would never quite heal. As I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, I realized something chilling. David and Emma thought they had only betrayed me, but betrayal is never that small.
It infects everyone connected to you, parents, friends, children, until the rot spreads across entire lives. That was their true legacy. Not love, not passion, but ruin.
The unraveling of David and Emma's lives wasn't explosive. It was slow, humiliating, and merciless, like watching a tower collapse one brick at a time. David was the first to hit bottom. After Marcus forced his resignation, his reputation spread like wildfire across Chicago's corporate network. Recruiters stopped returning his calls. Firms that once courted him now used his name as a cautionary tale. His LinkedIn inbox, once overflowing with opportunities, sat empty. Within a month, he accepted a sales job at a mid-tier car dealership in Evanston. The same man who once strutted through boardrooms in Armani suits now spent his days pitching SUVs to suburban families. The salary barely covered rent, let alone the lifestyle he and Emma had fantasized about. Emma's fall was crueler because it was public. The scandal spread online like gasoline to flame. Her follower count, once 300,000 strong, bled out by the thousands. Hashtags mocked her daily. Hashtag bedroom betrayal. Hashtag family values fraud. Hashtag sister stealer. Memes surfaced. Her smiling face photoshopped onto scarlet letters, side-by-side comparisons of her wholesome captions with screenshots of hotel receipts. Brands abandoned her one by one. Serenity Wellness scrubbed her content from their site. FitLife replaced her campaign with a younger influencer. A skincare company she had been banking on a new product launch issued a statement. "We stand for integrity and cannot endorse individuals who compromise those values." The collapse was brutal to watch, even from a distance. Within weeks, Emma pivoted to empowerment content, posting teary-eyed videos about resilience and forgiveness. But the internet wasn't buying it. Comments poured in. "You can't preach family values when you destroy one. Where was this energy when you were in your sister's bed?" Her new venture failed before it began. At home, their love story rotted under the weight of reality. Bills stacked on the counter, rent overdue. David's resentment grew with every rejection email, every commission he didn't make. Emma, stripped of her online adoration, lashed out over dirty dishes and unpaid utilities. Neighbors whispered, friends stopped calling, invitations disappeared. What had started as a forbidden thrill between them turned into a cage of debt, shame, and bitterness. I didn't need to interfere anymore. The trap had been sprung. Now gravity did the rest. One evening, a mutual friend texted me. "Just saw David at O'Malley's. He looked wrecked, drinking alone, asked the bartender if anyone wanted to buy his golf clubs." Another week, another update. Emma was spotted arguing with a landlord in the street. Her voice shrill, mascara running. Someone recorded it. The video went viral under the caption, "Influencer Meltdown, Karma Edition." I didn't share it. I didn't comment. I didn't need to. The universe was doing its work. And the irony wasn't lost on me. They thought they were building a new life together, an escape, a love story, a fresh start. But what they had really built was a prison, and brick by brick, it was caving in on them. 1 year later, the air smelled of sun-warmed grapes and rosemary. I sat on the terrace of a stone villa overlooking the rolling hills of Tuscany, a glass of Chianti swirling in my hand. The horizon blazed with the orange of a late summer sunset, painting the vineyards in gold. This was the trip David and I were supposed to take together. I had booked it the very morning I caught him, a romantic anniversary surprise. Back then, I believed it would reignite our marriage. Now I was here alone, and for the first time, that word, alone, didn't sting. It felt like freedom. My phone buzzed on the table beside me. A message from Emma. The name still sent a faint ache through me, though dulled now, like a scar that no longer hurt but never faded. I'm sorry. I ruined everything. Please forgive me. I stared at it for a moment, wine glass poised halfway to my lips. Then, slowly, I tapped delete. No reply. No drama. Just silence. Because forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it means letting go so completely that the past can't touch you anymore. From what I'd heard, David was still working at the dealership, his once shiny suits now traded for polyester uniforms and fake smiles. Emma had retreated from the public eye, her empowerment brand collapsing under relentless mockery. They were still together, I'd been told, but the glow had long since faded. Their love story, born in secrecy and thrill, had withered under the harsh light of reality. And me? I had risen. The Morrison case had catapulted me to senior managing partner, the youngest in the firm's history. My colleagues treated me with respect, my reputation untouchable. But more than the promotions or accolades, I had reclaimed something greater, myself. I no longer walked into rooms wondering who I was without them. I knew. The betrayal hadn't destroyed me. It had stripped away illusions, forcing me to rebuild with sharper edges and stronger walls. I learned that survival isn't about holding on. It's about knowing when to burn the bridge and watch the smoke curl into the sky. I raised my glass to the horizon, speaking aloud, though no one was there to hear me. The real ending belongs to me. The words floated into the warm Tuscan air, carried away over the vines, the hills, the ancient villages. And for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. Because revenge, I realized, wasn't about their downfall. It was about my rebirth.
Betrayal hurts in ways words can't describe. When the people you trust most, your partner, your family, turn against you, it feels like your entire foundation has cracked. Most of us would react with rage, with screaming, with broken dishes. Rebecca didn't. She chose strategy over chaos, truth over denial. Her story reminds us of a few powerful lessons. Evidence is power. In personal life, just like in the courtroom, facts cannot be denied. Rebecca didn't argue, she proved. Revenge isn't the goal, integrity is. Her true victory wasn't in David and Emma's downfall. It was in preserving her dignity, her reputation, and her future. Betrayal spreads. It never stays between two people. Families fracture, children suffer, reputations collapse. When you betray trust, you poison an entire ecosystem. Healing means moving forward. Tuscany symbolizes rebirth. Rebecca didn't just punish them, she rebuilt herself, stronger and freer. Not everyone will have Rebecca's calm or her legal skills, but everyone can take this. Betrayal doesn't define you. What you do next does. In the end, the most powerful revenge isn't making others fall. It's proving that you can rise without them. If this story shocked you, and let's be honest, it probably did, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another jaw-dropping story like this one. But more than that, I want to hear from you. What would you have done if you were in Rebecca's shoes? Would you have confronted them immediately? Or would you have played it smart, gathering evidence and watching their world crumble? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one, and your perspective might even inspire tomorrow's episode. And speaking of tomorrow, you don't want to miss it. It's the story of a husband who tried to frame his wife for a crime she didn't commit. But let's just say she was 3 steps ahead the entire time. So hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell because betrayal never sleeps and neither do our stories.